The stars looked different from Mars' orbit. Ethan Blackwood stood at the viewing port of the UES horizon, hands clasped behind his back, watching the red planet rotate slowly beneath the ship. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel just 3 years ago, but they were still confined to their own solar system. Ethan, at 53, had spent his life as a diplomat, but never imagined he would represent Earth to beings from another world. The alarm sounded suddenly, breaking the silence. Red lights flashed throughout the corridor. "Ambassador Blackwood to the bridge," came Captain Laura Fisher's voice over the intercom. Immediately, Ethan moved quickly through the corridors of the ship, nodding to crew members who pressed themselves against the walls to let him pass. When he arrived at the bridge, the atmosphere was tense but controlled. "What's happening?" he asked. Captain Fisher, a woman with short gray hair and steady hands, pointed to the main screen. "We detected it coming out of FTL, just beyond Deimos. It's not one of ours." On the screen, a ship unlike anything humans had built approached slowly. It was smooth and curved, with sections that seemed to flow into each other like liquid metal. No visible engines or weapons, yet it moved with obvious purpose and control. "Have they made contact?" Ethan asked, his mouth suddenly dry. "They're transmitting now," said Communications Officer Ben Carter. "Standard radio waves. They're speaking English." "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was melodic, with an accent Ethan couldn't place. "Greetings, vessel of Earth. We are representatives of the Arxian Confederation and the Galactic Council. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." The bridge fell silent. Humanity's first contact wasn't just with one alien civilization, but apparently an entire council of them. Ethan stepped forward. "This is Ambassador Ethan Blackwood of Earth. We welcome you and are eager to establish peaceful relations." "Excellent," the voice replied. "Request permission to dock for face-to-face discussions." Captain Fisher looked at Ethan, who nodded. "Permission granted," she said. "We'll send coordinates." 2 hours later, Ethan stood in the docking bay alongside Captain Fisher and several security officers as the airlock opened. The beings that emerged were tall, nearly 7 feet, with iridescent skin that shifted colors like oil on water. They had 4 arms and large, almond-shaped eyes that blinked sideways. "I am Nexar, first envoy of the Arxian Confederation," said the foremost alien in perfect English. "We have been observing your world for some time." "How long is some time?" Captain Fisher asked. Nexar's skin rippled blue. "We first detected your radio signals approximately 100 of your years ago. The Galactic Council has a protocol for emerging species." "How many species are part of this council?" Ethan asked. "Currently, 322 spacefaring civilizations maintain membership," Nexar replied. "Earth would be evaluated for potential membership, of course." As they walked to the conference room, crew members stopped to stare. News spread quickly through the ship, and excited conversations broke out everywhere. Only Science Officer Olivia Reeves remained quiet. Her eyes narrowed as she recorded the visitors with her tablet. She had noticed patterns in the alien speech, subtle inconsistencies in their story. Later, as the crew celebrated in the mess hall, Olivia approached Ethan with her tablet. "Ambassador, something doesn't add up," she whispered. "They claim they only discovered us a century ago, but look at these translated data packets I intercepted from their ship." Ethan looked at the screen, his excitement fading as he read. "This can't be right." "They've been watching us for thousands of years, not hundreds," Olivia said. "And there's more. References to human genetic patterns they already had on file before they came here." When Nexar invited Ethan to visit the Galactic Council headquarters as Earth's representative, he accepted with a diplomatic smile. But as the aliens left, Olivia pulled him aside. "They're hiding something about us," she warned, her voice low and urgent. "I don't think we're the first humans they've encountered. Be careful out there." Ethan nodded, watching the alien ship depart through the viewport. The stars beyond suddenly seemed less welcoming than before. The human delegation ship approached the massive Galactic Council station, which orbited a distant neutron star. Ethan Blackwood and his small team stood silently at the viewing port, watching as the enormous structure grew larger. The station resembled a giant metal flower with 12 enormous petals extending from a central hub. Lights of various colors pulsed along its surface. "It must be 10 times the size of our largest space station," whispered Lieutenant Kate Martinez, the military attaché. Her hand rested on her sidearm, a habit from her years in Earth's defense forces. Dr. Alan Wright, the science specialist, was busy taking readings on his tablet. "The energy output is off the charts. They must have harnessed the neutron star somehow." Ethan remained quiet, remembering Olivia's warning before they left Earth 3 weeks ago. The journey through what the Arctians called fold space had been disorienting but mercifully quick. Their ship docked at one of the smaller petals. As they exited, a delegation waited for them. 3 different alien species stood in a line. In the center was a being unlike any they had seen before, tall and thin with skin that seemed to shift between solid and gas. Its eyes were completely black. "I am Vexilor, Council Overseer," it said in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "For 8,000 years, I have welcomed new species to our community." Ethan stepped forward. "Ambassador Ethan Blackwood of Earth, we are honored to be here." Vexilor's form rippled. "Humans, so fascinating. Your biological makeup is quite interesting to us. You will be given quarters in Section 87. The humans were led through long corridors where beings of countless shapes and forms moved about. Some floated, others slithered, many walked on various numbers of limbs. Several stopped to stare at the humans. Their assigned living area was clean but located far from the central hub. Kate was the first to notice they were the only delegation in this entire section. "We're being isolated," she said that evening as they gathered in Ethan's room. "I checked the station map. We're in a remote area, and our access points are limited." "I've tried sending messages back to Earth," said Ben Carter, the communications specialist, "but I think they're being filtered. The responses seem edited." Ethan nodded. "I noticed that too. We need to be careful, but not paranoid. Tomorrow we meet the full council." Later that night, as Ethan worked in his room, the door chimed softly. Outside stood a reptilian being with copper-colored scales and 4 arms. It looked nervously down the hall. "I am Zylok, junior historian," it whispered. "May I enter?" Quickly. Once inside, Zylok spoke in a low voice. "Ambassador, I risk much by coming here. The official history you will be told tomorrow is incomplete. There are files. We call them the Lost Files, about humanity's true place in galactic history." "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. "I cannot say more now. The surveillance is everywhere. But humans have been known to the Council far longer than you've been told. If you wish to learn more, meet me in Archive Section 12 after tomorrow's ceremony." With that, Zylok slipped out. The next day, the human delegation was escorted to the Grand Assembly Hall, an enormous chamber where representatives from hundreds of species sat in tiered sections. Vexilor introduced the humans, and Ethan gave a prepared speech about Earth's desire for peaceful relations. The reaction was mixed. Some representatives applauded, others whispered among themselves, and a few simply stared with what looked like fear. After hours of ceremonial speeches, the council voted. Earth would be placed under protective observation for 50 standard years before full membership would be considered. As they returned to their quarters, Kate leaned close to Ethan. "Did you notice how quickly that vote passed? Almost like it was decided before we arrived." Ethan nodded. "We're not being protected," he said quietly. "We're being contained." Back on Earth, Olivia Reeves hadn't stopped working since the delegation left. Her lab at the Global Space Agency was filled with screens showing data patterns and ancient signals. She had been digging through old radio telescope records, searching for something that might explain her suspicions. "Found anything new?" asked Dr. Alan Wright as he entered her lab. He had returned to Earth 2 days ago with data from the Council station, leaving Ethan and the others to continue diplomatic work. Olivia pointed to a screen. "Look at these transmissions from deep space, recorded in 1943. Everyone thought they were just random noise, but when I apply the Archean language patterns, parts of it translate." Alan leaned closer. "What does it say?" "It mentions Terran predecessors who once dominated this arm of the galaxy before disappearing." She rubbed her tired eyes. "Alan, I think we had ancestors in space, long before our recorded history. While they worked on Earth, Lieutenant Kate Martinez moved quietly through the restricted areas of the Council station. After 2 weeks of careful observation, she had learned how to bypass the security systems. Zilok, the reptilian historian, waited for her at a service entrance to the archives. "We must hurry," Zilok whispered. "The night cycle gives us 3 hours at most." They slipped into a vast chamber filled with glowing data crystals. Zilok led her to a sealed section at the back. "These records are restricted to Council elders only," he explained, placing his scaled hand on a scanner. "As a historian, I discovered my access accidentally. I've been searching for the truth for years." Inside, Kate found records dating back 50,000 years. Zilok helped her translate the ancient text formats. What they discovered stunned her. "Humans are biological descendants of the Destroyers." She read aloud. "What does that mean?" Zilok's copper scales darkened with emotion. "According to these records, a species nearly identical to humans once challenged the early Council's authority. They were called Destroyers because they rejected the Council's control over technological development. A great war followed, and the Destroyers' worlds were allegedly sterilized." Kate scanned further data. "It says here that some may have escaped to a primitive world, Earth. And the Council has been monitoring us ever since, manipulating our development to keep our technology progression slow." "That is why I had to show you," Zilok said. "What the Council did, what they continue to do, violates our own highest laws of non-interference." Meanwhile, Ethan was invited to a private meeting with Council members. Among them was a Draxian, a being with crystalline features that reflected light in hypnotic patterns. "Ambassador Blackwood," the Draxian began, "I am Elder Krillix. I wish to speak with you about your species' request for faster technology sharing." "Earth has much to offer in exchange," Ethan replied. "We learn quickly." "That is precisely what concerns many Council members," Krillix said, crystal facets shifting. "Your potential terrifies us. Your adaptability, your aggression, your creativity. No species should evolve as quickly as yours." Ethan kept his face neutral despite his shock. "Is that why we've been isolated here? Why our communications are filtered?" Krillix seemed surprised. "You noticed?" "Yes, Ambassador. Many older species remember the devastation of the last time beings like yours spread among the stars." "We are peaceful explorers," Ethan insisted. "So they claimed as well, before they became conquerors," Krillix replied. When Ethan returned to their quarters, he found Kate waiting with urgent news about her discovery. As she explained what she and Zilok had found, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. "Attention all personnel," came an announcement. "Historian Zilok has been arrested for data theft and unauthorized sharing of restricted Council information. He is scheduled for memory realignment." Kate's face paled. "They know." The news from the Galactic Council reached Earth within days. Leaders from all nations gathered in the Global Unity Center in Geneva to discuss the alarming revelations. "So they've been watching us, holding us back, for thousands of years?" asked the president of the African Union, her voice tight with anger. "That's what our team has discovered," Olivia confirmed, standing before the world's most powerful people. "And now they've arrested someone who tried to help us learn the truth." Dr. Alan Wright stepped forward with his tablet. "I've been working on a new communication system that might bypass their monitoring. It uses quantum principles they may not expect us to understand yet. The room buzzed with tension and determination. For the first time in human history, all nations agreed on one thing. Earth needed to stand united against this external threat. "Develop whatever technology we need," ordered the United Nations Secretary. "All resources are available to you." Back on the council station, Ethan received an urgent message from Kate. They met in his quarters, which they had swept for listening devices. "I couldn't just let them take Xyloc," Kate whispered. Her uniform was torn and a bruise was forming on her cheek. "I got him out before the memory wipe procedure. He's hiding in the maintenance tunnels." "You risked everything," Ethan said, both impressed and concerned. "He risked everything for us first," Kate replied. "And he's not alone. There's an entire underground movement of species who oppose the Council's leadership. They call themselves the Alliance." Later that night, Kate led Ethan through rarely used corridors to a hidden chamber deep in the station's infrastructure. There, beings from 7 different species waited with Xyloc. "Ambassador Blackwood," Xyloc said, "these are representatives of the Alliance. Like your people, many of ours have been kept from advancing too quickly." A blue-skinned being with 4 eyes stepped forward. "I am Nalik of the Teller system. Our race joined the Council 300 years ago. We quickly learned that newer members provide resources to the founding races, but receive little in return." Ethan looked around the room. "How many species feel this way?" "At least 60 that we know of," said another alien with wing-like appendages, "but many fear speaking out." "The Council keeps a careful balance," Xyloc explained. "They admit new races only when they can be controlled. Your humans are different. You advance too rapidly, question too much. They fear you will upset their system of power." Ethan thought carefully. "Then perhaps we should give them reason to reconsider that system. How can we communicate with the other marginalized species?" While this meeting took place, Olivia made a breakthrough on Earth. With Dr. Wright's help, she had been studying human neural patterns compared to the limited data they had on other Council species. "Look at this," she said excitedly. "Our neurological structure allows for faster learning and adaptation. We form new neural pathways at 3 times the rate of the Arctians, and they're considered advanced." "Could this be why they fear us?" Alan asked. "It's not just that," Olivia said. "Our brains show evidence of intentional design, ancient genetic engineering. I think our ancestors modified themselves before they were defeated by the Council." Across the station, in the Council's security center, Commander Draz reviewed footage of human movements. The tall, gray-skinned security chief had been watching the humans closely since their arrival. "They're making too many connections," he told Vexilor. "The human female has breached restricted areas 6 times, and historian Xyloc has disappeared." Vexilor's form shimmered with concern. "Increase surveillance. Prepare a report for the Council. I believe we must accelerate our plans for Earth's isolation." "Should we detain the human delegation?" Commander Draz asked. "Not yet," Vexilor replied, "but prepare the quarantine fleet. If they resist, we will ensure Earth remains cut off from the rest of the galaxy, permanently." As the commander left, Vexilor turned to a private communication screen. "The humans are proving as troublesome as their ancestors. Begin Phase 2 immediately." The emergency council session lasted just 20 minutes. With minimal debate, they voted to implement a quarantine field around the solar system. No ships would enter or leave. Earth would be completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Ethan watched from the observer gallery, his face showing nothing while his mind raced. The vote was nearly unanimous, with only a handful of newer council members abstaining. An Arxian representative approached him after the session. "This is for your own protection, Ambassador. Your species is not ready for full galactic integration. And who decides when we are ready?" Ethan asked calmly. "The Council has thousands of years of experience bringing new species into the community," the Arxian replied. "We know best." Back on Earth, the response to the Council's decision was swift. Global leaders authorized Project Phoenix, the rapid development of ships and technology based on designs Kate had secretly transmitted from the Council archives. In a vast underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, engineers and scientists worked around the clock. Among them was Paul Hernandez, a young engineer from Mexico City who had shown exceptional talent with energy systems. The Council ships use a layered defense system, Paul explained to Olivia and Dr. Wright as they examined the plans. But there's a flaw in how they generate their shields. If we modify our approach, we might be able to create something they've never seen before. How long will it take? Olivia asked. Paul rubbed his tired eyes. With normal development. Years. But we don't have years. Then we'll work faster, Dr. Wright said simply. On the Council station, Ethan had become the center of diplomatic activity. Using the communication channels Kate had established with the Alliance, he secretly met with representatives from dissatisfied Council species. Your worlds provide raw materials, but receive limited technology in return, he told a group of 27 different species. This imbalance has continued for centuries. We propose a different model: equal exchange, shared advancement. The founding races control the Council, said a delegate from a world called Mira. They will never allow change. They may not have a choice, Ethan replied. Together, our voices can be heard. Word of these meetings reached Vex Lore, who convened the Council's inner circle. The humans are becoming a rallying point for malcontents and troublemakers. We must act now. The quarantine fleet is ready, Commander Draz reported. 27 ships, enough to create a permanent isolation field around their system. Good, Vexlor said. Prepare for immediate departure. But Council plans leaked through Alliance channels. Kate received the warning and sent an urgent message to Earth. Quarantine fleet launching. 27 ships, heavily armed. In response, Earth's newly constructed defense ships gathered near Neptune. There were only 12 vessels, built in secret using modified Council designs. What they lacked in numbers, they made up for in innovation. Paul Hernandez stood on the bridge of the lead ship, now called the UES Defiant. The shield modifications are installed on all vessels, he reported to the fleet commander. They haven't been field tested, but the simulations are promising. Let's hope they work, the commander replied. Because here they come. The Council fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system in a flash of light. Their ships were larger, more numerous, and equipped with weapons tested in countless conflicts. They're hailing us, said the communications officer. The face of Commander Draz appeared on screen. This is a Council security operation. Stand down immediately or face destruction. This is our home system, the Earth commander replied. We will defend it. The Council ships fired first, a warning shot that flashed toward the Defiant. The crew braced for impact, but Paul's shields flared to life. The energy blast hit the shield and dissipated completely. On the Council flagship, Commander Draz stared in disbelief. Impossible. Their shields should have collapsed instantly. The humans had achieved what the Council thought impossible, and the battle for Earth's future had just begun. The space around Neptune lit up with weapons fire as the battle began in earnest. Council ships moved in perfect formation, their tactics refined over thousands of years of military dominance. But the Earth vessels fought differently, using unexpected patterns and maneuvers that confused the Council commanders. They're not following any known combat doctrine, a Council tactical officer reported to Commander Draz. They're adapting their strategies in real time. On the UES Defiant, Paul Hernandez monitored the shield systems as energy blasts struck them repeatedly. Shields holding at 87%, he called out. The design works. The Earth ships darted between the larger Council vessels, using Neptune's gravity to slingshot into unexpected attack vectors. What the humans lacked in firepower, they made up for with creativity and unpredictable tactics. Target their weapons arrays only, ordered the Earth Fleet commander. We want to disable, not destroy. This mercy confused the Council forces, who were accustomed to enemies fighting for total victory. Their rigid command structure struggled to adapt to the humans' unconventional approach. Back on the Council station, Ethan received urgent news. Alliance ships are on the move, Kate told him as they met in a secure location. 23 vessels from 17 species. They're heading to Earth to support our defense. That's more than we hoped for, Ethan said, studying the data. But Vexilor will see this as outright rebellion. It is rebellion, Kate replied. The Council's been too controlling for too long. You've given these species something to rally behind. While the battle continued in the outer solar system, Olivia made a stunning discovery in her lab on Earth. She burst into the command center where Earth's leaders monitored the conflict. "I found it," she announced, her eyes wide with excitement. "Our DNA contains markers unlike any natural evolution. Our ancestors didn't just engineer themselves for better cognitive abilities. They designed themselves to be perfect adapters. That's why we learn so quickly. That's why we can think in ways the Council can't predict." "Why would they do this?" asked the United Nations Secretary. "Survival," Olivia replied simply. "I think they knew they might lose the war against the Council. This was their backup plan, to hide on Earth, become primitive again, but preserve the potential to evolve rapidly when the time was right." In space, the battle reached a turning point when Alliance ships arrived, creating a multi-species defense force around Earth. The Council fleet, now outnumbered, formed a defensive perimeter. Hall's modified shield technology was quickly shared with the Alliance vessels. As the last ship was upgraded, the combined fleet took up positions facing the Council forces. Commander Draz received a priority message from Vexilor. "Crush this rebellion at any cost. Use maximum force." Draz hesitated, looking at the tactical display. Half his ships were damaged, and now they faced overwhelming numbers. "Prepare the Nova Cannon," he ordered reluctantly. "Target Earth directly." As the Council flagship powered its main weapon, Ethan broadcast a message across all frequencies, reaching both fleets and the Council station itself. "This is Ambassador Ethan Blackwood of Earth. We don't seek dominance. We seek partnership. The era of secrecy and control must end. We invite all species to join us in building a new galactic community based on equality and shared knowledge." The message spread rapidly across Council communication channels. On dozens of worlds, beings watched and listened. In the Council chamber, representatives began to speak out, questioning the attack on Earth. A faction of Council races, impressed by humanity's restraint in the face of victory, called for an immediate ceasefire and negotiations. The Council chamber erupted in debate. On his flagship, Vexilor watched with cold fury as his carefully maintained order began to crumble. "If the humans are not stopped now, everything I've built will be destroyed," he whispered. Taking control of the weapons system, he targeted the human flagship personally. "Fire the Nova Cannon," he commanded. "End this now." The Nova Cannon fired, its energy beam cutting across space toward the human flagship. At that same moment, 5 Alliance ships moved into defensive positions, their newly upgraded shields forming a layered barrier. The blast struck with blinding intensity, but dissipated across the combined shields. "Now," ordered the Earth Fleet Commander. 3 human ships launched a precision strike, targeting the Council flagship's engines and weapons systems, but carefully avoiding life support areas. Within minutes, Vexilor's ship drifted powerless. Alliance forces quickly surrounded the remaining Council vessels, which powered down their weapons systems one by one. The battle was over. A joint team of human and Alliance security forces boarded the Council flagship. They found Vexilor in the command center, still giving orders though no one was listening. "Overseer Vexilor," Kate Martinez said as she stepped forward, "you are being detained for crimes against multiple species, including attempted genocide." Back on the Council station, the emergency session had descended into chaos. Representatives from dozens of worlds demanded answers about Vexilor's actions and the hidden history of the Council's relationship with Earth. Ethan stood before them, calm in the center of the storm. "What we've learned is troubling," he said. "Vexilor has manipulated council politics for millennia. He was alive during the original war with our ancestors, what you call the Destroyer War." Xylox stepped forward with data crystals recovered from the flagship. These contained proof that Vexilor's species attempted to eliminate the early humans not because they were destroyers, but because they refused to submit to control. The ancient humans were defending themselves, just as we have done today. On Earth, Olivia and Dr. Wright worked with scientists from 20 different Alliance species, sharing knowledge freely. In days, they created a unified database of information that had previously been restricted by the Council. "It's amazing how quickly we can advance when we work together," a scientist from Mira said, examining human genetic codes alongside their own. "Your adaptability complements our stability. Together, we become stronger than either of us alone." Paul Hernandez, whose shield technology had saved countless lives, established an engineering academy where various species could learn from each other. Different minds approach problems differently, he told his first class of mixed species students. "This diversity of thought is our greatest advantage." 2 weeks after the battle, a reformed council structure was proposed. The system of founding races having permanent authority was replaced with rotating leadership, giving all member species a voice. Technology sharing became a fundamental right rather than a privilege granted by the powerful. Kate Martinez helped establish an interspecies security force with balanced representation, ensuring no single group could dominate others through military means again. When Vexilor was brought to trial, the evidence shocked even his oldest allies. Records showed he had lived far longer than any of his species normally did, extending his life by manipulating the Council's medical technology. For thousands of years, he had shaped policy to maintain his power, fearing that rapid advancement might threaten his control. 1 month after the battle, Ethan Blackwood addressed the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from all Council worlds and the Alliance gathered to witness the historic moment. "We are not your destroyers," Ethan said, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "We are not your saviors. We are simply your neighbors, ready to build a future where no voice goes unheard and no potential remains buried." Outside the station viewports, hundreds of ships from formerly antagonistic species gathered in formation around an Earth vessel. Their lights blinked in synchronized patterns, an ancient symbol of unity that transcended language. Humanity had risen not through conquest, but by offering a hand of friendship. In the heart of the galactic community, a new era had begun.